Alright, Horror Hounds, and welcome to an episode of This Just In. Today we're going to be going over Season 1 of the TV show Chucky, right before Season 2 kicks off. Going to go over the goods, the ins, the outs, the things I was mixed on for all of Season 1. It's going to be kind of a quick review because you can't go into every detail. They were about hour-long episodes. But starting off with the good stuff, in is Chucky. So Chucky was awesome during this entire season. He seemed to be himself. We got to see killing in at least every single episode. The same old Brad Dourif mannerisms like usual. There was swearing. So even though it was made for TV, for Sci-Fi and USA Network, they allowed all of that stuff to happen. Another thing I was very in on was the kills. Some of them were a little bit cartoony or cheesy or lackluster, but there was a lot of fun, good kills in this too. I think my favorite one of the entire season was the nanny. When he gets her to trip and fall and she goes face first into a bunch of knives sticking out of a dishwasher. That was a very fun and inventive kill. One of the crappier ones, I think it was just CGI, but it may have been the Puppeteers. It was when they were doing a party and it was like a silent party, but they wear headphones so they can all hear the music while they're all having a good time. When Chucky kills a kid during that scene. That was another nice thing about the show was they killed adults and they killed kids. The last thing that was an in for me was Fiona Dourif. So we'd seen her in the last two movies, and she played a really good role in both of those movies. And in this one, when she was playing Nika, she had to play between being Nika, being Charles Lee Ray controlling Nika, being Nika pretending that she's Charles Lee Ray controlling Nika, Nika pretending to be Nika when being controlled by Charles Lee Ray. There was a whole lot of stuff, but she had different like mannerisms and things that she said and the way she did stuff, and you could really kind of tell it apart. And she was also the one who played Charles Lee Ray in all the flashbacks, and they did a really good job with the special effects and makeup to make her look like her dad. I mean, she kind of does already, but they were able to pull it off really good, so it reminded you of kind of the very first Child's Play, the look that Charles Lee Ray had in that film. So on to the mixed elements for me. The cast of kids. So we have four main kids in this show. You have Jake, who's the star who the show surrounds. Chucky's kind of following him. And I think he did a good job. Lexi goes from being a despicable human being that you wish would get killed by Chucky to the very next episode being their everybody's best friend again, calling themselves family and stuff. It was a real big swing. I mean, I feel like she did a good job being despicable, and I think she did a good job when she was being the friend. I just don't think the writing did her any justice in this one to go from one episode to the next where it was like a complete 180 spin. Devin, I like Devin as a character. I think he played well. As the love interest for Jake, it was a little bit hit or miss. There was times where he just didn't seem to be as invested in the relationship as Jake was. So it was kind of hard to believe that he was in love. But that did happen. And the whole story arc for Jake, since he is maybe like 13, 14 years old, and he's a gay kid, Don Mancini based the character kind of off of himself, but gave himself a better ending than what he had in real life. But it all kind of led up to this moment where they had a kiss. And once that happened, it just felt lackluster than what you would have expected for kind of that big crescendo. And the last one was Junior. Junior was Jake's cousin who's had a perfect life. He's a perfect kid. He does everything great, and his family's rich, and he's got it made. He played the character okay. He has kind of a redeeming quality towards the end, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And the last thing I was a little mixed on was the plot. So every episode kind of has a point to it. And one neat fun fact is if you watch the screen when the Chucky's name comes up, they have it kind of based on different elements. And a lot of times those elements are used as in the way that Chucky kills a person in that episode. So one time it was like a bunch of knives and the lady fell on knives. And one episode, it was a bunch of syringes, and Chucky stabbed somebody with syringes to death. That was kind of neat. But overall, with the plot, it seemed like I give it hit or miss. That's why it's mixed. I like the fact that Chucky's very maniacal in this one. We see a different side of him than you have in the past. He's kind of like, I'm your best friend, Jake. These people treat you like shit. You need to start killing some people. Like, he's really trying to convince somebody to kill. And we think that's it goes along well, and it's neat. It's cool. But then when you get to the end to figure out why he's trying to do this, it kind of doesn't have a payoff. Like, he's transferring himself into dolls. We know he could do that in the last movie, but now he's building like an army. But for some reason, for this army to take full effect, he has to get an innocent person to kill another human being. We don't know why. They don't explain that really at all. But for the lead up of all the cool shit that Chucky was doing to get kids to try to kill other people, that was really neat. But for that to be the reason, and we don't even really know why, was kind of meh. And then, like our legacy characters who return, we get quite a bit of Tiffany in this compared to what she's been in the last few movies. She's very hit or miss with me, too. She's another part of my mixed elements, probably my last part for mixed, is just Jennifer Tilly playing Tiffany. There's some scenes where I think she does a great job. There's some scenes where she goes way over the top. And there's some scenes where just kind of her performance is forgettable. But this is probably her best performance since Bride of Chucky. And then the other thing with the plot is there's a lot of like storylines that kind of get towards the end, and they're all kind of dropped and left as plot holes. This might have been because at the time Don Mancini knew he was going to get a season 2, so he didn't have to wrap it all up kind of neat like a bow. But it was also one of the biggest downfalls for the ending of the show was to have all these storylines that are progressing through the whole season, and then it's kind of like, maybe you'll find out next year. Well, I mean, I was kind of hoping to find out what was going on this year, but sure, we'll just wait till next year. Which, it's great that they got a season 2, which is kind of like nothing was resolved in the end. Like, we know that the whole thing for Chucky was trying to get an innocent to kill, which he gets Junior to kill his own father. But there was more storylines going on than just that one that got resolved. And I felt like that was the only one that had like a real resolution. And then also talking about more of the other legacy characters that were kind of a mixed element, hit or miss in this plot. Felt like Andy was kind of an afterthought in this. Kind of like he was an afterthought in Cult of Chucky, thinking that he would be more with that little teaser at the end, the post-credit scene in Curse. We thought with Cult he was going to have a bigger part, and he kind of did or not. And then in this show, he's kind of weaving in here and there, like on phone calls and driving. And then you get the really cool scene where Kyle, which was his foster sister in part 2, and the original actress came back to reprise this role. They come in and they have kind of like a Pulp Fiction scene, and they kill some Chucky dolls and stuff. And they had some fun scenes where they were killing dolls in the season, but it felt like they were barely used, almost to the point where they didn't really need to bring them back for this. It was just kind of like they did. And I wish they would have had a little bit more to do with Andy and Kyle than what little bit we got. Plus, when the way the season ends, Kyle's dead. Maybe she is. Maybe she isn't. We don't know. And Andy's driving off with a truck full of Chuckies, and we have a Tiffany doll pointing a gun at him. So, yet again, just like in the last one, his master plan has got him into shit. All right, on to the things that I was out on. First thing, flashbacks. I, for some reason, just do not care for flashbacks about Charles Lee Ray. I know in the first movie, he killed people, and he put himself into a doll. I don't need to know that when he was a child, he killed his own mother. That was his first kill. I am glad that they didn't give us some weird-ass backstory about Charles Lee Ray. Just, he's been a bad guy. He's been an asshole his whole life. And that's great. But we do that without flashbacks if we just kind of let our minds do it. We didn't need to see all the flashbacks. It was neat seeing Fiona Dourif play Charles Lee Ray, but I just didn't think it was worth the time and effort and energy put into that, especially like with him meeting Tiffany, and that still kind of seemed like it jumped around and stuff like that. They did have a neat little callback to season 1 where it shows them meet Eddie Caputo when they're kids. So like that was kind of neat. The last thing I have would be Chucky's kill count. In the very last episode, Chucky gives himself a kill count. He tells you how many people he killed. He tells you that he killed a cat. He goes through pretty much all the havoc that he wrecked during this whole season while sitting in a chair, which I know Chucky likes to go for meta humor. But for me, I wasn't into that. I don't know. I thought it was a very dumb way to end season 1. And to be like, fuck you, we'll tell you what's happening next year. And it was kind of like a big way, kind of like a snarky nod, because Don Mancini got a season 2 reprised. And we know he was going all out because when they originally announced this show, they had planned on doing it on TV, but then MGM came out and was like, we're releasing a new Child's Play. And they had kind of said to Don Mancini, hey, we'll let you be a producer on it, since you helped out with the first one. And Don Mancini was pissed because his Chucky's still going. So why are we going to sit here and put out a remake? Remakes come when series have died. All right, so I know I kind of seem a little bit mixed in the middle on this season. To be honest, I found this season to be very refreshing and fun. It has a little bit of everything from every movie, kind of like feeling aspect to it. So as long as you still love the series, you'll love the show. The overall thoughts on it, every episode has kills in it. At least one, sometimes multiple. The finale has a ton in it. Chucky still swears, does what he wants. Chucky is Chucky, and they're having a blast with it. They push the envelope when it comes to how many dolls Chucky can be inside of. The number goes up real high. I mean, we see a scene that has like 30 or 40 Chucky dolls in it, and there's this big maniacal plan, but we don't know what it is yet. And it's just going to have to see when season 2 comes out. My rating on this would be a 4. This was fun. It was good. Had everything you wanted in it, probably, when it comes to being a Chucky fan. And looking forward to season 2. Season 2 looks like it's going to kind of have like a church unholiness feel to it. And it looks like Devon Sawa has came back, even though both his characters he played in season 1 died. Which, that was one thing I didn't mention, but I'll throw in at the end. At the end of season 1, pretty much every single parent is dead. Pretty sure all the parents are dead for the most part. And they killed a couple kids. So the show didn't hold back for being on TV, for being on Sci-Fi and USA. October 5th is when season 2 kicks off. So we'll be watching episode 1, and then we'll do a walkthrough, a little review on it. We'll go through what happened, and we'll give it a rating. So until the next one, don't forget to give me a subscribe, a like, a share, comments, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one, and rest in peace.